Communication at the root of it is the biggest challenge every single shop encounters. A stat that I share on virtually every podcast that I have an opportunity to jump on is that poor communication is costing shop owners 18% of total salaries being paid out on an annual basis.
The following program features a bunch of doofuses talking about the automotive aftermarket. The stuff we, or our guests may say, do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of our peers, our sponsors, or any other associations we may have. There may be some spicy language in this show, so if you get your feelings hurt easily, you should probably just move along. So without further ado, it's time for Confessions of a Shop Owner, with your host, Mike Allen.
Maybe we should ask Braxton who is more technologically impaired, because I think I've impressed him with how inept I can be with tech.
If Braxton starts mocking you about something like that, you just challenge him to a spelling test.
Ooh.
I know. Okay. Let's have a spelling contest.
Now I have some ammo in my bag.
Braxton's the only person I've ever met with worse spelling than an aircraft mechanic. They can't spell. They actually have coffee cups geared towards it. If you search aircraft mechanic coffee cup, it'll have like mechanic spelled wrong 3 times. And at the bottom it says I fix planes. Like it's a thing they do. They can't spell. That's a little fun.
So
fact.
I had a pretty good week. Got a lot going on, but one of the best parts of my week was the ability to be in a classroom with a bunch of other shop owners. Some of which we've had on the show, and a trainer, and to corrupt them with evil shop owner type ideas while the trainer was trying to teach them
the proper
all the
way.
Things that popular trainers teach these days. And I ended up actually going to dinner with one of the shop owners last night. So I went to a class in Cary, North Carolina, which is a suburb of Raleigh, Tuesday night, and then Fayetteville on Wednesday night, and that was at Josh Coombs' shop, All OK Auto Repair.
Oh yeah,
it was a good time.
He's got that place fixed up nice, man.
Yeah,
I've seen some pictures. Oh my gosh,
it's come so far. His lobby is so cool. He's got like it's an old reserve airborne paratrooper parachute.
Sure.
As like the hanging ceiling above the lobby, and he's got
that's awesome.
A bunch of like classic car decor and old school military decor, and he's got beer in the lobby, which I support. So
cheers. I do too.
But and it was the Rick's Road Tour event for ASTA, where he did 4 different cities in 4 consecutive nights. So he did Greensboro, and then Cary, and then Fayetteville, and then Hendersonville, which is over in the mountains actually. So he went middle of the state, east, all the way west.
Okay.
Wow.
So, and he was at Canuga Tire, and we talked to him. Edward Trevino. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I was like, I know that. I know Canuga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed.
You were at the Fuel and Connections event, and Eduardo was there too. So, but anyway, I was the shop that we were at Wednesday night was a 4-day-a-week shop, and you know that I love to jump in both feet first, because they were talking about building a great team culture and recruiting and hiring and things that you can do to attract high-level people. And it's like a 4-day work week, man. Everybody loves 4-day work week. And then it was, I've had so many clients who have closed on Fridays, and it's forced them to find efficiencies and productivities, and their sales haven't gone down, or even they've gone up by being open just 4 days a week. And I was like, well, if you think about it, that's great that it forced you to learn your efficiencies and everything. But why don't you just open back up on Friday and have a 25% growth?
now that you know your efficiencies.
Yeah. And then all my usual tropes about hours open and charging for diag and cheap oil changes and how you pay your technicians and all that. So,
dude, I'm all about cheap oil changes. And I was all about cheap oil changes before you poisoned me too. I mean, I was doing cheap oil changes probably before you were.
We imagine a world where the customer experience is seamless for auto repair. Where every interaction is effortless.
Hey Jen, Sam here. How can I help you?
Hi, Sam. I just had a warning light pop up, and I think
Every
I remember you told me
detail
last
is
time
anticipated.
to issue around now.
Yeah, it looks like last time you were in, we said there was something that we could possibly need to address with your spark plugs. So let's get you in here and make sure everything's good before you go on your
And
lunch.
every customer feels
You'll
valued.
be getting a text alert shortly. We're going to send Jerry over the car. You'll be able to swap cars with him, so you have a loaner for the rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
This is the future with Techmetric. A fully connected system designed to redefine how auto repair shops operate and deliver excellence. From streamlined appointment scheduling to real-time updates, Techmetric empowers shops to work smarter. With integrated payments, transparent pricing, and instant
Again, actually, it
communication,
was just as we thought. Definitely going to need to replace the spark plug.
customers stay informed and in control at every
Charge,
step.
and we should have that car back to you in a couple hours.
Sounds great.
In Techmetric shops, decisions are powered by data. Owners can track progress in real time. Technicians have the tools to succeed, and service writers focused on what matters most. Building trust with customers. It's not just a repair, it's an experience. A seamless, efficient, and customer-first journey
Mike.
that keeps people coming back.
Sure everything was to your satisfaction.
Fantastic.
Good to hear.
With Techmetric, every moment matters. Every interaction counts.
Look, here's the deal. I like to think that I'm pretty good at running an auto repair shop. It's what I've done for 20 plus years, but I'm not good at managing a marketing budget and all the different facets of a truly well-rounded marketing plan. There's mail, there's local advertising, there's website, there's Google AdWords, there's all the different things that go into that, and it's just not what I'm good at. So what I've chosen to do is to buy myself the time to focus on what I am good at while having someone else execute on all of those things at a way higher level than anything I could ever do. That's what turnkey auto marketing does for me. So if you feel like you could use some of that same magic, I'm going to recommend that you go to turnkeyautomarketing.com, get a free consultation, tell them that I sent you, tell them that Confessions of a Shop Owner sent you. You won't be disappointed. Cheap oil changes just work, man.
They just work. Not intentionally.
but-
Not like, I don't know how to explain it. Like just
Cheap oil
looking at
changes
the
work
market.
if your front of house team and your process is good.
Yeah.
If it's not, then it's a waste of money and heartache and everything else.
It's probably arguably the only marketing we do is a pretty affordable oil change. You can get 5 quarts of synthetic and a filter and a thing done for like $80 right now with the tax.
For
and
how
stuff.
much?
80 with the
Okay,
tax.
nice. That's
8% tax. So it's like 70 something.
What do you think, Josh? How do you feel about the cheap oil change?
I'm not the guy to ask. I'm good at staying in my lane, and I'm going to stay in my lane. But I want to share. With you, I was this past weekend at the Sunrise Automotive Training and Expo in Chandler, Arizona.
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
very cool.
Becky Witt shared with me that she is a 2.5 day work week, specifically
Mhm.
called a 3-day work week. But she said they shut down half day on Wednesday, so it's 4-day Monday, 4-day Tuesday, half day Wednesday, and I was blown away. I mean,
What's a 30-hour? Because I do 12 hours Monday, 12 hours Tuesday, and 6 hours Wednesday, right?
I didn't ask her that, but that would make logical sense. But
Yeah, when I worked for the dealership, we were on 3 13s a week. We worked
Okay.
3 13-hour days.
Wow. So just open 6 to 7?
Interesting.
No,
was it- so-
I'm sorry. I just said yes, but that's not correct. They were open from 8 to 9.
oh,
wow.
so that's 11. No,
I think.
yeah,
I can't
11.
remember.
Yeah, 11 hours.
I can't remember what the
13.
deal was.
Yeah, you're right.
8,
Yeah, 13.
8 to 9. Yeah, 8 to
Math.
9. 8 to 9. 100%. 8 to 9.
But
Yeah.
were they only
So-
open 3 days a week? or were you working 3
No,
shifts?
they were open 6 days a week. So,
Gotcha.
you know, you did the
But you were
split
doing
shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like 4 weeks, you'd work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You do that for 4 weeks. And then you'd have a whole week off. You'd have, it worked out to where you had Monday, Tuesday, you know, you'd have a week off, but then you had to start back up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then at the end of that, they would call it Hell Week, but it really wasn't a week because there was Sunday in the middle. So you worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, off Sunday, work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It wasn't a bad gig. 12 days a month and collected a full-time paycheck. I wasn't complaining.
Yeah.
But that dealership isn't open anymore because it actually was just used for money laundering. So when the FBI caught up with them, it didn't. They had to go ahead and close down.
that FBI raids are bad for business.
Yeah.
It tends to be the case.
Yeah. Nice gig, man.
So I think with Becky, like her goal set and what she wants out of life and her business are met with that schedule. Right. And so if 4 days a week you can get done what you want to get done and hit all your goals and meet all your needs, then why would you work any more than that? I can get behind that. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's all about what your goals are, right?
Yeah. I have really big aspirations, and I want to do cool stuff and give stuff away and have nice stuff and go to nice places. And
the Mike Allen
shit
car
takes money, man.
For kids that aren't good at fixing cars but want to do great things too. Is that from Zoolander?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Josh, I need you to weigh in on something. If you've heard or not, but we have podcast Miata that we're getting put together for the expo, and we're going vanity plates on the Miata. So I think it should be free. I have 8 digits. I have 8 characters, right?
Gotcha.
I think it should be free diag or number 1 ESO.
I like number 1 ESO.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either. I saw the post in the group, and gotta say there was a lot of really good submissions.
There really were. Yeah,
but I like the number 1 ESO as well. I mean, that's kind of become your thing.
That is, and it's perfect because it's on a Miata.
Yeah,
it wouldn't work on something that
that's
was
a good
worth
point.
anything, right?
Yeah, if
the
irony, it was like a Yukon
like you couldn't
Denali
put it
XL.
on your Dodge Viper. You'd be like, well, maybe he is the number 1 ESO. That's really nice.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, you know what I mean, or not? You know, whether it's a nice car or not, they're hard to attain at a value price, right? Miatas are pretty easy to get at a value.
Yeah,
you can go ahead and stuff $1,500 in your pocket and probably go find a Miata.
No, I bought this one for $500.
Oh, nice.
But there's significantly more invested in it at this point than what I paid for it. That's for damn sure.
I mean, you got
the gas that was in it was like paint thinner. It needed a tank and
$90 worth of fire extinguisher recharge.
Yeah. Well, it is the crispy fried Miata. That's what they call it at the shop right now.
The crispy fried Miata.
Yeah, a technician caught it on fire because he.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not paying. Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
If we're gonna have a car on fire, it better be mine.
You know what? If you haven't lit a car on fire, you're not actually working on anything.
Yeah, you're not trying unless you're burning shit down.
Yeah.
So,
what about liquid asset? That's a little bit.
Liquid asset is an evil shop owner's boat name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I should go buy a really cheap boat and put that on it.
I think a new start, but spelled anus tart, is really good.
Oh my god!
I think one of the best submissions I saw. I think it came from Josh Coombs. Butt stuff.
Yeah, just butt stuff.
Like, wow.
There's no way that would get through the DMV filters, but man, that's a good one. All right, so hey, everyone who is listening and wondering 10 minutes in who the hell we're talking to, I want to welcome Josh Parnell from Limitless Leadership. I met Josh, spoke to him online a few times, then I met him at Fueling Connections earlier this year, and I've seen him also at Tools PA. earlier this year. He just got back from Arizona at that event that you were just talking about. And we're going to see you again at ASTA Expo in September, which is going to be awesome. And anybody who's anybody and ever wants to be anybody will be there, or they'll be square.
It is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Josh, if you could, just for the listeners who maybe don't know you yet, could you give me like the 3-minute version of who you are, what you do? Yeah.
Well, Mike, thanks for that. Mike and Bryan, thanks for having me. So quick 3-minute version. I really cut my teeth in the industry for almost a decade at Christian Brothers Automotive, and had the opportunity to lead a team of incredible service development trainers. And we had the opportunity to serve thousands of team members across 31 states and over 300 locations nationwide. And what we did primarily in my department was we were serving service managers, service advisors, and franchisees. And so we would create and facilitate all the training programs for those individuals. And then a little over 2 years ago, I just got this itch, and I'm a faith-based person. I just felt like God was starting to do something in me, and I was thinking, you know what? Logically, this doesn't make sense. I don't know why I'm thinking about leaving, but ultimately, that's what I eventually did, and really took a step in faith and left a great organization, great company, great role. I really loved what I did there. Love the people there, still do. And decided to jump into this terrifying world of entrepreneurship as a leadership coach, trainer, and speaker. And so here I am now serving the industry in a larger capacity. When I was with Christian Brothers, I didn't realize how big the industry really was until I got out. And while I'm still a small fish in a massive pond, what I do know is that there are so many amazing companies out there, coaching companies, but also shop owners, ESOs, as you may call them, who are collectively trying to work together and collaborate, not compete, but to make this industry a better one. And so I'm just thankful to be a part of it. I'm thankful to have met a lot of great individuals who have welcomed me with open arms like you guys have. And so, loving what I'm doing, and loving the impact that we're collectively making. And that's kind of my quick, 2-minute spiel.
Hey, everybody. I wanted to take a minute to tell you about the coaching organization I've been involved with for, over 20 years now. Elite. Elite Worldwide, they don't give you a one-size-fits-all solution. They tailor the coaching specifically to you and your shop. They pair you with an experienced coach who is either a current or a former shop owner, and they turn strategies into actual action and accountability and results. Whether it's improving your service advisor's sales, growing your shop, growing to multiple locations, they really have you covered. They've got training for all of those things. Clients of Elite really see results, higher profits, stronger teams, a better work-life balance. If you're ready to take the next step, visit eliteworldwide.com to schedule your discovery session. That's eliteworldwide.com to start working on your business rather than in it. Tell them that you heard about them on Confessions of a Shop Owner so that I get a pat on the back or maybe a box of chocolates or something. That would be awesome. Thanks. Do you prefer to work with owners or service managers or advisors? Who's your sweet spot for working with?
Yeah, good question. I think the sweet spot would probably be service managers, because what I do is I share with a shop owner, I want to give you the gift of time and money by saying, we know that it's your responsibility to grow and develop leadership skills within your organization. Let me do that for you. And so I primarily work with people who are leading people in the trenches. And so I'm mainly working with service managers who are formerly leading people. Now, I would say if I gave you a breakdown of clientele, I'm thinking maybe 80% service managers, 15% owners, and 5% technicians is kind of the current breakdown of clientele for us.
So you've got like senior technicians who are filtering into a leadership role type thing, or like a management role?
Yeah, and not even necessarily a management role. Say it again, Bryan.
Which need the most work, because the mindset from a technician, I find myself being overly frustrated and not nice sometimes.
Yeah,
because of the technical mindset. The connection, trying to make the connection. Why can't we just do the job right? Like, why have we? Like if we run into something, I find myself excessively frustrated if we've had a conversation about something like 6 times.
Sure.
And like 6 months later, I'm dealing with the same thing. And I definitely, I definitely don't approach it the right way. I caught myself with that one day. I didn't really catch myself. Somebody else caught me on it and called me on it Monday, and he was right. I was like,
Okay.
well, I was kind of being a dick, but you could always do your job right.
Well, I mean, like we know there's often multiple conversations happening for the one that's actually happening, which is the conversation I'm having, the conversation you're having, and the conversation that we both think that we're having. And that's why the greatest misconception about communication is the fact that it's actually happening. And so when I'm working with with technicians,
that's awesome. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like communication at the root of it is the biggest challenge every single shop encounters. And a stat that I share on virtually every podcast that I have an opportunity to jump on is that poor communication is costing shop owners 18% of total salaries being paid out on an annual basis.
Wow.
Which means that if you're paying $1 million in salary across an annual basis, poor communications poor communication could be creating sunk cost in the amount of $180,000. So when I work with team members, it is heavy on communication, on delegation, on casting a clear vision, driving a mission towards the vision, time management. But to answer your question, Mike, to go back to answer, when I'm working with technicians, it's not necessarily for those who are transitioning into a management role. Sometimes it's working with a shop foreman or a lead technician who's mentoring other technicians, in the bays. We need to make sure that we know how to communicate. And what we know is that a philosopher will take the simple and make it complex, and a communicator takes the complex and makes it simple. So if we can collectively, from top to bottom, left to right, east to west, whatever you want to call it, there's that invisible wall that we all know about between the service counter and the bays. If we can communicate more effectively, then we're able to move the needle in a much quicker, more efficient manner, because we know that 7.47 hours per week right now on average is lost time because of poor communication.
So where do you get those statistics?
The 2022 State of Business Communication Report.
State Business Communication Report.
Yeah, State of Business Communication Report. And if anyone wants this information, this is all found in my Limitless Leadership Blueprint too, which is an online leadership training. And a new stat that I think is pretty alarming, because for the last couple of years, I've been sharing how 70% of employees are disengaged at work, because we know that connection creates engagement and engagement increases performance. So we need to go back to the engagement piece. If 70% of employees are disengaged at work, that tells us that's the opportunity, which is connection. Like the better the connection, the more engagement. However, the alarming stat that I want to share is that the new report, the 2025 State of Business Communication Report, just released this information. 77% of employees are now disengaged at work. However, conversely speaking, 80% of people will tell you that they're fully engaged when they receive meaningful feedback at least once per week. So if you're listening, what does communication look like in your shop in the form of one-on-ones, daily huddles, toolbox talks, whatever it may be? How are you creating engagement in your shop to subsequently increase performance?
Yelling, cursing, throwing of hand tools.
There you go. Sounds like the engagement is
super engaged.
That's unnecessary. Throwing is unnecessary.
Yeah, tools are expensive, man. You don't want to risk messing them up.
Well, if you can dial the wrench,
I like cheerlead. You ever go out there, Mike, and just do some cheerleading?
That's probably one of the only things that I do is
cheerlead.
Yeah, because it's not like I can go help them put fucking timing chains in,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I got a little one up there, don't I? You're having trouble with this? Let me show you something. Yeah,
I'll ask you, Bryan, because I know that's kind of a facetious statement that you're making, but like, think about the amount of times we as shop owners or we as leaders in the shop are quick to reprimand rather than recognize. And if we have the opportunity to recognize, and if we have the opportunity to call someone out in a good way, like, hey, this thing that you're doing good, we're quick to identify what you're not doing well. What about the things you're doing really? You're doing well, right?
The only time we're ever congratulating anybody is when you can tell they got something going on and they're already down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And that's a problem. That's a problem because, you'll have a guy that'll do one thing wrong, but he did 100 things right. You know what I mean? So Yeah, that's
And then
we. I'm
when he does 100 things right, we say, "Good, congratulations on doing your job." And when he does one thing wrong, we yell at him for being a moron.
I am like a much heavier, younger version of Dutch when it comes to people did their job right. Congrats, you did what you were hired for.
Yeah,
Good job.
that's what's expected, right?
Yeah, but it's not. It's I'm not as bad as Dutch. If somebody does a good job of something, I'm like, oh man, that was killer. Thanks for that. But I'm definitely for how good the guys do, I'm not where I should be with that, because they do a really good job for us. They really do.
You mentioned mindset earlier, Bryan, and we're guilty of this too. So someone can do 100 things right. They do one thing wrong, and we focus on the one thing that's wrong. But even 100%. We internalize things that we also do that is quote unquote wrong or negative. And we know there's 1,440 minutes in a day, but we will allow a 1-minute conversation to completely ruin the rest of our day.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't know how to manage or control the thoughts that we're experiencing.
1-minute conversation or something that went sideways on a vehicle. Last Friday, I'm off the schedule on Fridays. We had something go wrong on a vehicle. I wasn't going to be able to sleep that night. I drove to the shop at 7:30 at night to repair the vehicle. I wasn't going to be able to sleep after not going to the shop all day. Wasn't going to sleep. 100%.
How long did it take you to repair that vehicle, out of curiosity?
Like 2.5, 3 hours.
So it's 1,440 minutes in a day, but do you know how many minutes there are in a year?
I don't.
Like that by 364 and a quarter.
You don't follow musical theater then, because it's a famous song in the play Rent. 525,600 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I am familiar with the song. I did not know that was the time frame in a year.
525,600 minutes. Flip that shit out and make a reel out of it. Sorry.
Gosh. The flat rate pusher would know how many. Now, how many FRUs is that? Can you divide that by 6 on your calculator and figure out how many tenths there are?
Not enough. So do more. One of the exercises that we did in the class this week that I've seen trainers all over the country do it. It's the value of a technician's time broken down to the minute.
Oh yeah.
And that number just goes up because the average labor rate goes up and everything else. But
parts go up, which means parts margin goes up and blah, 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 blah. Sure.
Well, I think very conservative numbers. He based it on $150 an hour labor rate with a 1-to-1 parts to labor ratio, which a lot of people don't. That's even conservative now. It ended up being like $5.50 a minute. So it was like, so when you send him down to the parts store to grab that part, and it takes him 20 minutes, it's $100.
I had a debate with somebody about whether technicians should be putting the parts on the work order, selecting the parts and putting them on the work order because of the cost of technician time per minute. And I said that that's a great argument, but let's face it, if you let the service writers pick all the parts to no fault of their own, because it's not their job to know what parts work well on what cars, I think I could make an argument that you'll burn a lot more of that time taking parts back off than
having to wait and leave a car hung because you missed some parts that the tech would have known were needed.
Or you got me a Bosch O2 sensor for a Dodge and I know it's not going to work, so now it's in the air, so now we got to re-rack it or do whatever. Yeah, no thanks.
Let me ask you. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say that it's a double-edged blade, right? Because if you have the technicians heavily involved in the estimate building process, the estimates are more accurate and you have fewer burned minutes waiting for estimate corrections,
sure,
right? Callbacks, more parts, that kind of stuff. But you're burning a very expensive
they can't be doing something else.
Time.
Yeah.
If you just have them in the bay working on cards only and they don't deal with any of that, well, then the service advisors are building the estimates, but they screw some up, right? Just because it's not their sweet spot.
Yeah, it's not their job, man. It's not their job to know that stuff.
Well, I've stumbled upon a solution. Would you like to hear what that solution is?
Let's hear it.
Hub Shop Solutions.
No, that's right.
So everybody in the company loves it because I had technicians heavily involved in the estimating process, and advisors are still involved as well, and in different ways. Technicians would look up their labor, advisors would add parts, and now the technicians don't have to look up their labor anymore, and you've got people who all they do all day is build high-level estimates. And so the service advisors aren't having to look up parts. The DVI is marked complete, and then within 15 minutes, the estimate is ready to rock, and we get a message on Slack, which is the software the communication.
And
software
now instead of the technician adding a bunch of parts, he's just got to review the estimate to make sure it's not going to be jacked around.
So
instead of adding a whole bunch of parts, he would have added anyways.
I would tell you if they falter, it's that they add too much. They default to everything. And these are professional estimate builders. That's all they do.
Okay.
They also will call and sit on hold and file your extended warranty claim stuff for you, so that you don't have to spend 20 minutes on hold to get that CarMax warranty or whatever, which obviously the advisors love. So everybody in my company is super happy with that.
Well, and I want to piggyback on that, Mike, because I'm actually friends with the folks at Hub Shop Solutions, and I will vouch for them and the great job that they do. And so if you are listening and you are considering this alternative, I'll say it's a no-brainer. Like, give them a call, jump on a discovery call with them. Hub Shop Solutions is definitely the way to go.
And actually, ironically, they've been growing a lot, and I needed them to open. I needed them to be available to provide service on Saturdays before I could put them into my big shop. And one of my former service advisors, who was kind of a borderline manager, is now working for him. She needs to work from home because she's raising her grandkid. And so now she's knocking out estimates all over the country in TechMetric while she raises her kid. So
Ashley was at the Sunrise Expo, and she shared that specific scenario. How now we're doing it on Saturday too, thanks to Mike Allen. So
I did steal 2 slices of pizza from my son, so it's time for pizza and beer.
Nice.
Oh gosh,
what's your go-to? What's your beer? Michelob Ultra.
This is free beer. This is Yingling Flight.
Oh heck yeah!
Okay.
It was left over from the ASTA Summer Social event that was hosted at CarFix last week, and so there was a half a cooler of beer and soda left, and
there you go.
Doing my part.
I on the way down to Tools, we toured the Yingling Brewery, the America's oldest brewery there.
Oh, nice.
Pottsville, Pennsylvania. That was really cool. Some poor guy had to climb this rickety old ladder every day and turn the water on from the spring water in the mountain. There's like a valve on a pipe. Terrible.
Does he still do it? Or is that just like...
I mean, that was like an 18-something. It was pretty cool. But yeah, their free tour worked. Their free tour with their free beer worked because I didn't even know I liked Yingling beer, and I've found myself going to get some lately. Well, it's almost like similar to a cheap oil change.
Yingling just made it to Texas like a few years ago. For the longest time,
they're kind of like a Northeast deal. Yeah, they're kind of like a Northeast deal. They're not on the other side of the Mississippi, I guess. Well, I guess they are now if they're in Texas.
Now they are.
Texas is actually on the other side of the Mississippi, Brian. Yeah. So technicians and geography, not a big thing.
Yeah, listen, I fix clothes.
So here's a question I have for both of you guys. Both of you guys being shop owners, because something I do share with a lot of shops is probably sounds counterintuitive, especially for technicians, and that is this concept of one-on-ones with your technicians. And so when you're talking about the value, like time and the value for a technician, and even if they're like a minute, like broken down to the minute. So if I were to say, I'm encouraging shop owners or service managers to meet with a tech, for example, 45 minutes every 2 weeks. That's 45 minutes of lost production in terms of dollars and cents going into the business. But my argument is I go back to the engagement and the connection, because if connection creates engagement and engagement increases performance, what kind of price tag can you put on a one-on-one with a technician who has perhaps never had their voice be heard or their opinions matter or their ideas be considered. They've never been asked for their professional opinion on, hey, what should we start doing here? What should we stop doing here? If I were to ask you, what's your feedback on that concept of actually pulling your technicians out of the shop for 30 to 45 minutes to talk to them about how they're doing up here and in here? I'm pointing to my head and my heart.
So 5 minutes, $5 a minute is the low end of that spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes every other week is $6,500 a year. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty big chunk. Do you think you need 45 minutes?
Well, you don't need 45 minutes every other week.
I had a 45-minute conversation with someone that I wasn't being punished.
Well, and that's the thing. Why are we waiting until someone needs to be punished? Because that's what a one-on-one typically is. It's disciplinary. I met with someone because I had to tell them what they did wrong. And if our team members are giving us 120 hours every 2 weeks, and we can't make 30 minutes, 45 minutes of time for them in that 2-week time frame, what we know is that it cost you 6 to 9 months of a team member's salary to replace them. So while you're right, it is a lot of lost time and production time in terms of dollars and cents, $6,500, for example. In the grand scheme of things, if my technician feels heard, understood, acknowledged, understands how much I care about them, not just as a technician, but also as a person, and if I'm promoting this healthy work-life balance and work-life rhythm, I'm creating this culture for them, do you think that it's possible that their performance actually increases because they finally, for the first time in their professional career, feel like they know that they have a voice, their opinions matter, and their ideas are considered? It sounds counterintuitive, but it works.
I mean,
what do you think, Brian?
We do like group lunch where everybody airs their grievances, and I
think it's better to have. I think
nobody
it's better
cares,
to break
work
bread
harder.
together.
No, we don't say nobody cares, work harder. We have productive discussions at group lunch, about like what's working, what's not working. Like stupid, like, hey man, I don't like this TPMS tool because it does XYZ. And whether I agree with them or not, I'd rather just not listen to them complain about it and have them be happy. So I'm like, what TPMS tool do you want? Yeah. I'll go get you one. Stuff like that.
Who's going to feel comfortable in that meeting to say, hey, honestly, like I'm struggling at home. My marriage is on the rocks. We're barely making it. Like no one's going to open up and say that. And by the way, I know I'm suggesting that every other week. I think with service advisors, managers, I think that's a feasible time frame. And I now, having worked with over 120 folks in the last couple of years in the one-on-one capacity, I feel confident in saying that. I've had dozens of shop owners reach out and say, hey, the introduction and the implementation of one-on-ones have been a game changer for our business. And when I say dozens, I'm not exaggerating. Like, it is, when you do it right and when you do it effectively, it completely changes the culture in the shop. With technicians, it's a little different. And that's why I'm curious from your perspective. It does sound a bit much, and it probably is to do every other week, but could you consider once a month, for example?
So I have tried with varying degrees of success to do lunch with an employee once a week, and just rotate it through the team, or lunch with the key employee once a month, that kind of thing. And sometimes it works great and sometimes it doesn't. And, life has ups and downs and, busy times and you lose focus, that kind of thing. So for me, obviously they love feeling heard and seen and that they have a voice, right? And there is nothing wrong with that. But one of the side effects that I've witnessed is it has created a culture where some of my guys are comfortable going outside of the chain of command and coming straight to me with a problem. Mm-hmm. And they go over their leader or their boss to do that. And I have to redirect them back down correctly because that's undermining their direct leader's authority by letting them come to me without going appropriately through the chain of command. Does that make sense?
It does, and this is also why I actually encourage service managers specifically, people who are in the trenches, boots on the ground, for lack of better terms. They're the ones who should be
in the trenches with the wrenches.
In the trenches with the wrenches.
That's me.
They're the ones who I think should be doing what you're talking about, and not to suggest that you don't do that. I think it's critical for every leader within the organization to give some kind of time.
Nobody
But,
wants a 45-minute with me because they got to deal with me in the shop all freaking week.
They got to. They have to. They get to.
I am within, in our Sanborn shop, I am within 30 feet of every person working in that shop at all times, unless I'm on a test drive or something. Because I'm working in the bays every day. So
yeah.
I don't know if they want any more of me talking to them.
What about
they
the
may
other shops?
not, but there's a healthy balance, a fine line between love and accountability. And when you talk about getting comfortable and really overstepping the chain of command, this is where we need to make sure that we're creating and we're setting, and more importantly, keeping boundaries for our teams personally and professionally, and recognizing that accountability is actually a form of love. And, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, but you can still hold your team accountable, set and raise the standard to where you are showing up for them in a way that no other leader has, and you are developing them as a leader that no one else ever did. And they're turning into someone who is just unrecognizable to them, to you, and even to their family.
I can see that side of it too. I mean,
what does it look like if,
I really thought about
let's
it,
say,
I
for
guess.
example, that I wanted to send my leadership team to you for training? What does that look like? How often do they interact with you? For how long? Is it 45 minutes every 2 weeks, or what does it look like?
It can be. So we schedule an hour, but the calls last about 50 minutes. The reason they're 50 is because we work off a running Google Doc, and the running Google Doc is something that they have access to. You also have access to, being the shop owner. You see the conversations that we're having with your service manager or lead technician. The last 10 minutes of that hour is for me to type in any additional notes that I didn't take during the live call. It is for me to tidy up any notes, put a bow on things. It's also for me to send them any resources that we may have discussed while on that call. But you do have access to all of that. We walk through a 3-phase process in coaching, which is the discovery phase, then the action phase, then the coaching phase. In the discovery phase, I learn a lot about who I'm working with, what drives you, what scares you, what makes you tick, why you think the way that you do, why you operate the way that you do. When I have a good understanding of who I'm working with, I can then customize the next phase of the program for your service manager or lead technician on the action phase, because this is where we start leading and working with leading the most challenging person we will ever lead, which is ourselves, and navigating the toughest battle, or one of the toughest battles we're ever going to face, which is in between the ears. So it's early on. It's a little bit of mindset stuff. We're talking about how to sharpen the axe, how to level up spiritually, physically, emotionally, academically, financially. I'm not an expert on any of those 5 things, but we're at least mindful of those 5 things. And I'm holding them accountable and giving them calls to action, which are critical to any meeting that you have, giving them a call to action so that they are doing something in between now and the next call to grow and develop. Once we get past the action phase, which is customizable to them, so the phase could be it could be a few weeks to a few months for somebody. It could be something completely different for someone else. We then get into the final phase, which is the coaching phase. We're focusing quite heavily on leadership, coaching, training, and managing. There are 4 different methods for all 4. I have methods for all 4, but all are necessary, but all are different. So we're walking through and talking through really the gamut of leadership, from self-leadership and self-development to team leadership and team development. To answer your question, Mike, what we've been doing, I say we because I literally just added someone to the team, and so hasn't even been officially announced, but I'll break the news here. So brought the regional vice president from Factory Motor Parts onto Limitless Leadership team as leadership coach. Adam Faulkner is his name. He's a great guy, great coach. And what we're primarily pushing out and offering right now is the Limitless Leadership Blueprint, which is the online leadership training course for anyone and everyone within your shop, within your organization. If someone wants to purchase one-on-one coaching, there's an optional add-on beyond that course. And that's when it's a self-paced, a self-scheduled one-on-one training or coaching session. So if you buy a coaching package of 10 coaching calls, for example, you get our calendar and you book your calls when you're ready for the calls. What I used to do is either weekly calls or biweekly calls on a set day and a set time. But now I'm saying if you have the course, you're watching the course, you're going through the information, a lot of the content that we otherwise might be discussing on a call, you're getting via video format, but we're personalizing it to you and customizing it for you in your one-on-ones that you have beyond the course.
Okay. In your experience, you said you purchase packages of coaching calls and you just use them up at your pace. If you walk someone from the beginning, the discovery phase, all the way through implementation and kind of they graduate through this program, I know that every person is different and their learning style and learning speed is different, but on average, what do you see that time frame being or number of calls and sessions being?
Yeah, when I first started this, I was asking for a verbal commitment on 6 months of weekly coaching calls, which works out to be about 25, 26 coaching calls. I've never done contracts, so when I say a verbal commitment, it was just a handshake kind of deal. And if you felt like it wasn't working halfway through, which didn't happen often, then we would talk about it and redirect. But the amount of people who retained services after that 6 months, I would venture to guess was 60 to 70% of folks. If I put a number on it, just guesstimation, I'm thinking 15 to 18 calls. If you're really putting in the work, doing what we're talking about, you're going to see significant improvements in your life, not just professionally, but even personally, pretty quickly. And after 15 to 18 calls, again, just a guesstimation, you can look back and see a significant change in yourself and your team as long as you did the work.
And where does someone go if they want to learn more about signing up one of their team members for that, or what the cost is, that kind of stuff? I know that the cost will be variable over time, so we don't want to say it here, but they can reach out to you to find out details.
Yeah, thank you for that. So go to limitlessleadership.co, not .com, .co. If I wanted the .com, the M would have cost me $100,000 supposedly. So it's limitlessleadership.co. And then ultimately, I'm just encouraging people to book a free discovery call. So even if you're interested or if you're not sure what this might look like for your team or your shop, just jump on a call. It's a free discovery call. I'm happy to share with you what we can do and how we can do it. It's not a cookie cutter program. So while the online leadership training is a static, that's something that is already set. Your coaching specifically, and every client of mine will tell you this, it is very customizable to you. It's not cookie cutter. We're working with you and specifically action plans that you need because of the conversations that we've had.
Awesome. And how many different automotive businesses would you say you're working with right now?
Good question. I would venture to
thousands.
No, I mean, dozens for sure. Yeah, certainly not thousands. Maybe one day, but I'll say dozens. At any one time, I mean, I would say close to 30. Something like that.
Okay. That's one thing that I'm always interested in when I meet and talk to trainers or coaches who are kind of in the early stages of their business, like you are. Is there's a point of diminishing return when you have so many clients that you can't give the same level of service anymore, and then you have to start hiring on others to help. Like you just hired Adam. What do you think is a reasonable number of clients per coach?
15. You're getting, when you get up to 15, 18, that's you're hitting a sweet spot, and maybe a peak. I'll tell you, at one point I was working with 27 people in a week, and it was a lot. And I was after about 3 weeks, I made a change because I felt like, well, I'll say this. I don't think the quality of the service was going to the wayside.
Sure.
But I think my family felt
something had to give, either the quality of service or the amount of time that you were putting into it.
That's it.
And, your mental exhaustion from doing so and so much, so forth. Right.
I think what gave was really my attentiveness to the family after I shut the laptop down for the day. And so right now I'm only working with about 8 folks on a one-on-one basis, but the course itself is floating around a number of different shops. But I've had a waiting list now for 2 months, and this is bringing Adam on board is going to allow me to. And I should have hired a while ago, but I kept finding reasons or excuses, however you look at it, to wait. But
And
Adam's
getting that first employee, bro, it's scary.
well, it is, and I'll say
It's real now.
I made a hire last year. I made a couple hires last year, and things were working, but things weren't. And so it was for a while. I said, I'm just going to press pause, pump the brakes, and just kind of roll solo for a while. But then I was like, I have to scale, and if in order for me to make a larger imprint in the industry and really help make an impact,
Sure,
I need to bring on people and just trust that we're going to make it happen. And so that's what we're trying to do right now.
Do you have like a 1, 5, 10-year goal set? Where do you see Limitless Leadership going?
I think eventually I'd love to be able to, I'm going to say this quite often. That's this concept of collaboration and not competition. I'm right now really intentional with connecting with other coaching companies. And even here lately, if you listen to Limitless Leadership podcast, there are other coaching companies who are joining me as guests on the podcast. And I'm saying, hey man, plug your services. Like, let everyone know what you do, how you do it, what it's going to look like. I want to highlight and honor you as best as possible.
Yep. You're looking to complement what they do, not compete with what they do.
Dude, it's an abundance mentality. Like, there's so many shops in this industry, and you guys know, I mean, maybe 5% at most are attending these conferences and really a part of these groups that you guys are all familiar with. Most people aren't getting coaching. Like, most people across the country with 250,000 shops are not getting coaching. They're not involved with training. They're not involved with 20 groups. They're not involved with peer-to-peer networking.
A real number is there's just short of 600,000 technicians in the United States of America, and the largest annual training event, Vision, has something around 3,000-ish attendees.
Wow. Okay.
So there's like 570. Well, that's an old number. That was pulled from the 2023 U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Was like 572,000 technicians.
But
that
still
feels low, man. That feels like a small number. BLS 2023 said 794,000.
I'm sorry, you have to separate out heavy duty. There's about 200,000 heavy duty in there. So I separated that out.
They're probably also counting like Jiffy Lube dudes as technicians too.
Yep,
right?
100% it is. But that's the real numbers. Less than 0.5% of the industry attends these things.
I think it's an opportunity for us to come together. It really is. And so to answer your question, Mike, 1, 5, 10-year vision, ultimately I want to be able to have Limitless Leadership be a place in the industry where you can find leadership coaches, leadership trainers, leadership speakers to come in and complement potentially your existing performance coaching company. I would say half of my clients, and granted, I'm not currently working in a one-on-one capacity with as many as I have before. I mentioned I went as high as 27, and now I'm down to eight or 10. But when I had 20 plus, half of them were working with a performance coaching company, and I encourage, and I'll share names of coaching companies who I think would be a good fit for any particular client, and I say, like, go talk to them. And even if, in fact, Eduardo will tell you this from Canuga. So I'm like, hey, because he and I jumped on a discovery call. I'm like, man, I want to make sure that you get the right fit. If I'm not the right fit, then I'm going to help you try to find the right fit. And ultimately, he went and found a different coaching company, which I applaud, because I want people to go and find what they need. I'm not here to make money. In the grand scheme of things, we all are. But I know the money's going to come if I focus on serving the industry, focus on serving these individuals. Just like we ask our team members to serve their guest, you serve your guest, you take care of your guest, you love your guest. The transaction is a natural byproduct of exceptional standard setting service. And the same can be said for coaching in our industry as well.
So one of the things that I've found to be interesting to witness as I've gotten more heavily involved with ASTA and going to different training events around the country and that kind of thing is almost every coach speaks about a service first mentality. It's an ethics first mentality. It's we can be peers and not competition. There's more cars out there than any one of us can fix. There's enough for everybody. Like you said, an abundance mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I've also witnessed at the exact same time is that these dudes are territorial AF, and they do not think. They think of competition very fiercely amongst themselves. So it's like it's always this awkward space at the trade shows where they're like across the aisle from each other in their booths and stuff, and they keep that smiling face on, but they're shooting daggers with the eyes. It feels like, and I sometimes want to go back and be like, "Hey, bro, why don't you
Pull
put
the
out
plank
a little bit
out
of
of
that
your eye,
same energy
buddy."
you're teaching?"
Man, I'm determined to change that. And when I say like I am putting my money where my mouth is, again, listen to the podcast. We have some great coaching companies.
You had Michael Smith on there recently. I saw that.
Michael Smith, had Jimmy Lee on yesterday. His episode is going to air in the next couple of weeks. Darren Barney from Elite is going to be on. So we've already done his episode as well. So there's a handful of folks around the industry, and I'm intentional on finding folks. Matt Wag was on the podcast today. His episode will air soon. He's with AIM, Auto Ignite Management, and so I'm looking for folks who can share the same concept. Which is, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to walk the talk. And ultimately, if we can keep on doing our part to collaborate and not compete, and recognize there is plenty to go around, and being able to serve people, serve shop owners, serve team members, it's going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. It's, let's focus on abundance and not scarcity.
Well, I'll focus on the abundance mindset and coopetition. I hate that word. Amongst shop owners, you focus on it amongst coaching organizations, and by our powers combined, we'll make it a more loving and hugging and caring kind of world. Does that sound
Sunshine
good?
and rainbows. That's really what we're all about. Is it right, Mike?
Co-oping with other shops really isn't that difficult. I was about to say but, so I guess it is. When you guys have the same mindset, right? It's not a problem to co-op with another shop that has a similar mindset to you.
You're right. And here's the thing. And this is where my hope is that we can introduce a new mindset when it comes to how we are showing up for our team members. And I know a lot of folks might be hearing me say this and like, dude, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Come try running a shop and seeing what it's actually like. And when I tell you that, when I say I'm going to stay in my lane, I'm going to stay in my lane. But here's the thing. I've worked with thousands of team members in this industry for a decade. I've worked with hundreds of shop in this industry for a decade. And when I say that I'm confident in saying connection creates engagement, and engagement is what increases performance, we can focus on people before process and people before profit. And I promise you the profit's going to come. So when I say, let's introduce this concept of putting people first and connecting for the sake of engagement, you will, guaranteed, you will see a significant change in culture and ROI in culture, in the coaching for the culture. So, hey, I want to say one more thing too, Mike, if you don't mind. So I mentioned the Limitless Leadership Blueprint. For anyone who purchases the Limitless Leadership Blueprint, it does come with a 100% money back guarantee. And so if you don't like it, you can literally go through the entire thing, watch the videos, get all the resources that you can download, get all the information necessary. And knowledge without application is just information. But if you don't like it, and you can call and say, "Hey, Josh, I didn't like this. Give me my money back." Deal. I'll give your money back. It's like I'm that confident in how this works, and other shops will attest to that as well.
There is one other thing that I need from you. The title of the podcast is Confessions of a Shop Owner. You're not a shop owner, but that doesn't mean that you get to avoid a confession.
Yeah.
I need to know something that went horribly, horribly wrong, and that we can all laugh at you about. Can you tell us anything?
Yeah, I can. And I'll tell you, because I thought about this. I was wondering if you're going to ask this question. And I believe that we connect through authenticity, humility, and vulnerability. I'm about to be real vulnerable because I'm a leadership coach. I'm about to give you something I'm really embarrassed by, quite frankly. So I was in the Air Force, did a 4-year enlistment, got out, and my first job outside of the Air Force back in 2006 was an assistant manager at a Sun and Ski Sports. And you guys familiar with Sun and Ski? Do they have those in your area? It's like an REI kind of thing. So if you're familiar with REI, it's camping, hunting, anyway.
Yep.
So I was an assistant manager at a retail store, and I don't remember what happened, but I remember getting upset. I remember my emotions were high, and when emotions are high, logic tends to be low. And I had a plastic clothes hanger, and that I was a handful of clothes hangers I was walking around with, and God, this is embarrassing to even share. I don't even know. I'm really throwing myself on the fire right now. But so something happened in the store, and long story short, I could not control my temper. I threw a adult man-child fit and slammed the coat hangers against a rack. They broke, they shattered, and here's the thing. I coach people on this. I coach people on emotional regulation, and I coach people on how to pause, process, and pivot. But just because we have the resources doesn't mean we're always resourceful. So there's my confession. I hate that I said it, but that's the real honest truth.
What were the repercussions? Did you get in trouble?
No one got. I mean, I was the manager, and I'm the one who really misbehaved, and so I picked up the pieces. I apologized, and then I just went along my day. But that was not my best moment by a landslide.
Lame. You could have done way better than that. You weren't really going to give us one of the real ones.
Okay. Well, I
want to hear about when you wrecked the MP truck into the nuclear missile silo in South Dakota.
So actually, I was in North Dakota, and here's one.
Yes.
I
made that up. Did that actually happen? I just pulled that.
No, but I'll say this. So I was stationed in Minot, North Dakota, super cold, right? And so I was stationed at Mike 4 was the name of this post, and I was providing security for a flight line that evening, and I was a one-man post. And it's very cold in Minot pretty much year round. And I was bundled up, had all my gear on, and I was in a heated gate shack. And I worked the night shift. And so, I worked the night shift, and it's 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I sit in that chair and I prop my feet up. And next thing you know, my flight sergeant storms into that gate shack and was like, "Parnell, what are you doing?" And I was sleeping. I took a nap, and I didn't know I fell asleep.
Oh, national security was at risk.
Fell asleep at your guard post. I think during wartime they just shoot you for that shit.
Yeah, well, I definitely deserved to be shot, but thankfully he gave me some grace. But hey, I've had plenty of mistakes and failures in my life, so trust me.
Me too.
It's been a challenge to get here, but here we are, and we're gonna keep on going.
Speak for yourself, guys. I'm fucking perfect. And just like that, we're at an hour.